Hello, subscribers and viewers of my channel. I have created many videos on the mysterious topic of Antarctica. In this video, I want to conduct a chronological investigation from the time of the Great Patriotic War to the present day. The conclusion will be made at the end of the video, and it will shock you, so be sure to watch it to the end. There will be no hypotheses about a flat Earth, a dome, or any other theories. I will rely only on officially documented facts, and no one else has collected them in chronological order. It all started in 1938 when Germany organized large-scale expeditions to Antarctica with a single purpose, which was revealed a year later by intelligence officers of the former Soviet Union. During the year, German planes surveyed an area of more than 8,000 square kilometers, marked it with a swastika, and safely reported this to their superiors. German research pursued one goal: to find an ancient city which, according to some sources, is located under the ice of Antarctica and represents a warm oasis where people could peacefully exist. According to German scientists and researchers, the planet Earth has its own vast depressions. It was these voids in the lands of Antarctica that the Germans were looking for. According to scientists, these voids represented vast areas with continents, seas, mountains, and even the sun inside. Whether the Germans discovered this is unknown, but the fact that in 1940 Hitler ordered the construction of underground bases in Antarctica is a fact. At that time, the purpose of building bases in Antarctica was clear: the study and development of the latest weapons. Nevertheless, Antarctica remains to this day a highly mysterious and inaccessible continent with a special status in international jurisdiction. So, what is hidden in Antarctica? That's what we're going to talk about today. According to verified data, since 1942, the elite and prominent personalities have been actively moving from Germany to the ice dungeons of Antarctica. What was the reason for such a rush, and what was Hitler really trying to achieve? There are two versions. The first suggests that the Third Reich foresaw a possible failure in the war and prepared a safe place where the highest echelon of invaluable specialists could hide for many years without risk of being discovered. The second version includes the first, but on a larger scale. Armed with new knowledge, German scientists plan to search for alternative energy sources and develop new engineering solutions. As evidenced by the findings of scientists who worked for fascist Germany, the Germans succeeded in creating incredible machines. If German scientists managed to create such technology in the latter half of the 1940s, what could they have created in absolute peace over the past decades? Additionally, some sources claim that Hitler did not actually die in the bunker, as many believe, but rather safely made it onto submarines to reach this secret location under Antarctica, allegedly participating in the life of several underground bases. Is this truth or fiction? Write in the comments if you've heard about this hypothesis. After all, nobody showed his body to the public. Supposedly, it was immediately cremated on the spot, which is all very strange. But even more strange is the following observation. A decade after the Great Patriotic War, in 1950, Antarctic meteorological stations detected a remarkable object. According to eyewitnesses, it had an elongated cylindrical shape, moved absolutely silently, and zigzagged multiple times while hovering in the air. The son of Nizhny Novgorod scientist Arkady Nikolov, the first person in the world to reach the pole of inaccessibility of Antarctica in 1958, spoke about the possible existence of secret Nazi facilities in the southernmost point of the Earth. Here is what he said. It's hard to believe, but 13 years after the war, when the country was still partially in ruins, colossal funds were suddenly invested in my father's expedition. He led his team to the center of Antarctica on tracked vehicles at a speed of 5 kilometers per hour, risking falling into ice crevasses several kilometers deep. They dragged sledges with kerosene weighing 30 tons behind them. Two people died from lung burns because they jumped out of the vehicle cabins without special masks, and the planes were swept into the ocean near the shore. What were such sacrifices for? I don't rule out that the expedition to the pole was a cover-up, and in reality, the USSR, like our other allies in World War I, was searching for traces of a Nazi base there. It's worth noting that the first person to speak about the mysterious base in Antarctica was German Hans Ulrich. he managed to find former SS officer and scientist Olaf Weizsäcker, who had actually seen the base with his own eyes. In 1938, Weizsäcker went there as a scientist researcher, and by 1945, he was a refugee fleeing with other members of the SS order. According to Ulrich, by 1941, the population of the underground city had reached 10,000 people. They were completely self-sufficient in terms of food. 100 kilometers from the coast, a huge oasis with fertile soil covering an area of 5,000 square kilometers was discovered, which they called the Garden of Eden. By the end of 1943, shipyard construction in the caves was completed for submarine repairs. The scale of the enterprise was such that mass production of submarines could easily be established there. Humanity has repeatedly tried to find this base 111, but attempts ended tragically, usually with the death and disappearance of people. Fonkrantz describes this in detail in the book Swastika in the Ice. In 1947, an impressive American military force of 14 ships, including an aircraft carrier flagship, 13 destroyers, over 20 planes and helicopters, and 5,000 personnel, set sail to search for the base along the shores of Antarctica. The operation was called Operation High Jump, which, in reality, turned out not to be so high. While flying over the coast, one of the American pilots noticed a quarry for mining minerals, and a detachment of 500 people on heavy-duty vehicles with their support from several aircraft was sent to the site. Suddenly, fighters with crosses on their wings appeared in the sky, and the landing party was destroyed in minutes. Later, one of the ships was blown up. On the spot where it happened, a water column rose, and unexpectedly, objects resembling flying saucers appeared in the sky. They silently darted between the ships and continuously fired columns of fire, as recounted many years later by expedition participant John Serson. The nightmare lasted for about 20 minutes. When the flying saucers dove back underwater, we began to tally the losses, which were horrifying. The battered squadron returned to America, and the matter remained classified for a long time. I didn't make this up, these are documented facts. This operation was even mentioned in the archives of the KGB of the USSR. I've posted the archive in my Telegram channel for anyone who wants to see it. Upon returning to America, Rear Admiral Richard Byrd, who directly commanded Operation High Jump, gave an interview. Take a look at it.
Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing.
The next victims were members of Jacques-Yves Cousteau's expedition. On the Calypso in 1973, his crew set out for the Queen Maud Land with an unofficial mission from French intelligence to find traces of Base 2011. Cousteau's aquanauts discovered an underwater entrance to the underground caves and ventured inside, but all 5 people perished in one of the tunnels, and the expedition had to be hastily aborted. Let's remember that according to the Antarctic Treaty, the entire region was demilitarized. However, according to eyewitness accounts, there is a strong military presence at the South Pole. Why, if the continent is only used for research? And why is there a no-fly zone over a significant part of Antarctica? This only makes sense if there is something to hide from prying eyes. Also, the design of the True South Antarctica flag is peculiar, as it remarkably resembles the symbol of the cryptocurrency Ethereum. This design was introduced in 2020 and is used by national Antarctic programs and expedition groups. Let's go back to 2016. In that year, many world leaders such as Barack Obama, John Kerry, the Pope, Medvedev, and the Patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church, Kirill, and even the legendary astronaut Buzz Aldrin traveled to Antarctica. Aldrin was visibly affected after visiting the South Pole. He posted a strange message on Twitter, which was later deleted, stating, "We are all in danger." It is evil itself, along with a photo of Antarctica. Nobody could understand the cryptic message. Several days later, it was announced that Aldrin had died of a heart attack in New Zealand. His mysterious tweet was deleted a few hours later without explanation. Steve Quayle, author of the book Empire Beneath the Ice, speculated in an interview with the US watchdog that these visits may be related to Operation High Jump, the goal of which was to destroy hidden Nazi bases at the South Pole. Quayle points out in his work that numerous important institutions, government leaders, industrialists, and financial sectors supported Adolf Hitler in building the Third Reich and continued to support the Nazi regime's power after World War I. If what Quayle writes is indeed true, could the real center of power of a shadow government be hidden under the kilometer-thick ice in the depths of Antarctica? The evidence now seems irrefutable. It appears that there is a very real connection between secret underground bases in Antarctica, advanced UFO technologies, a governmental group, clandestine financing by billionaires, and official versions of a non-existent Nazi regime. Quayle writes that Antarctica was chosen as a center of power not by chance, but because ancient and still active portals are located here. Considering the deep involvement of the Nazis in occultism and their practice of summoning these very demons and communicating with them, there is clearly a symbiosis between the evil of humans and these entities on Earth. So, let's summarize and chronologically compile everything I've mentioned earlier. Firstly, during the height of the war, Hitler allocated substantial funds for expeditions to Antarctica. The Germans visited Antarctica not once but 3 to 4 times during the war. Then, immediately after the war, the USSR financed and sent an expedition of 90 people, including the submarines and several aircraft and vehicles, to Antarctica, while half the country lay in ruins and people were dying of hunger due to food shortages. However, the entire expedition perished. Subsequently, the US realized the mistake of the USSR and decided not to skimp on resources. They sent the highest-ranking military fleet admiral, Richard Byrd, to Antarctica with an army of 5,000 personnel, an aircraft carrier, over 20 helicopters and planes, 12 warships, and submarines. This was named Operation High Jump. It seems more like a military operation to seize territory than an expedition, as I fail to see the point of sending such an army just to explore the continent. In the end, the expedition failed, the army was decimated, and after the expedition, Admiral Byrd gave an interview where he said very strange things to the public. Then, from 1947 to 1959, there was no news or mention of Antarctica. It was forgotten no one went there. Or at least it was not communicated to the public. In 1959, a treaty was signed by 12 countries stating that Antarctica belongs to no single state. Approaching within 200 nautical miles of it is prohibited, and only high-ranking special services can conduct activities and research there. Then, in 1962, the treaty was updated, adding several points, and now approaching its perimeter is prohibited not within 200 miles, but within 800. But what is the significance of all this? In reality, there are two possible conclusions. The first is that there has been some other civilization living there for a long time, and Hitler visited them specifically. What he did with them, I do not know. There are many speculations on this matter. The second possibility is that Hitler started the war with the sole purpose of diverting the world's attention while he conducted research in Antarctica to find new territories and resources. His technologies were staggering, and when he achieved his goals in Antarctica, he resettled the elite of Germany there and strengthened his position. Hitler's true goal was to conquer the entire world after the fall of the Soviet Union, remember. This idea seemed laughable, but if you look at it from another perspective, his plans were realized. If all this is true, then the whole world is now serving them. For the public, however, he lost the war and died. This is what is called a shadow government, ruling the world from the shadows. And with that, my friends, I conclude. Write your thoughts on this matter in the comments, and if you liked this video, please like and share it with like-minded individuals. Until next time on the channel.